I learned that I had polycystic kidney disease halfway through an all-day class on Microsoft Access. It was a thing that wasn't provided by work, but it was something that the county partnered with so that I could take it, and the library would pay for it. I was working for the county library at the time, and I checked my voicemail on the break, and it was someone leaving a message about what test results. And so I was curious and just wanted to find that out right away. So I called back. Whatever doctor or something it wasn't available. So I was just talking to some kind of office person. And they read the thing and said that it was the test showed polycystic kidney disease, which I'd never heard of. And so when I got back to the computer where I was supposed to be learning Access, I looked it up and saw absolutely horrible, terrible images and read that there was no cure, and it just... Suffice to say that I still don't know how to do Microsoft Access. Anything I learned in the first half of class went straight out of my mind, and no more Microsoft Access got into my mind. I remember the book I was reading that I had with me at the time, that I read when I went to lunch. It was Cleansing the Doors of Perception by Huston Smith. I just ran out of memory on my phone, so I had to remove a bunch of downloaded music so I could continue recording video. So as I was saying, at the time I was reading Cleansing the Doors of Perception by Huston Smith, who wrote... it started out as The Religions of Man, was later renamed The World's Religions. Really common book used in religious studies classes. And it was about psychedelics and spirituality, and it was interesting. I never finished reading that book. That was interrupted by this bad, upsetting news. As soon as the class thing got out, I ran to... side note about Huston Smith. When we were still in college, my wife-to-be, Tiffany, first wife-to-be, and I went to a lecture by Huston Smith that he presented at UC Davis, and he was just completely adorable. He was just like this little elf character. If you were making a movie about him, you might choose Burgess Meredith to play him, that kind of thing. So I got out of the class, and which was downtown, and I hauled ass over to the Beaumont hairdressing school, which isn't there anymore, but that was where we went for cheap haircuts. And I knew that Tiffany was getting her hair cut there at that point. So I ran in and found her, and I was like so upset. And heartburn. Basically, they let me sit there in an empty chair next to Tiffany getting her hair done. And I said this, upsetting thing that happened. And I don't remember the date, but it was the fall of 2001, because it was a time where, in a period of about 4 months or so, I got this diagnosis of polycystic kidney disease, and I quit my full-time union library job to work on call at the next level up, which was a good thing, except then after September 11th, which happened in this period of time, for whatever reason, there were massive library shortages and budget cuts, and before then, I would have been able to get all the hours I could have wanted, but after that, the hours were cut way back. Maybe if someone was going to be gone for the day, they would just replace the most essential part of the day, not the whole day. They just really cut back hours and stuff. So I didn't lose my job, but my job shrank. And I also, in this period, I finished my master's program in library and information science, and I turned 30, and a Beatle died, George Harrison. So that was a lot to happen in just the period of a few months. Some good things, some bad, but even the good things were stressful. I thought I was having a little existential crisis about turning 30, but I look back at that and I'm like, oh honey, just you wait, you're adorable. And then I just went into research mode, learning as much as I could about this polycystic kidney disease. I learned that Irma Bombeck, the columnist, had it, and at first I thought oh geez, I've got the thing that killed Irma Bombeck. Turned out she died of something else, which is actually pretty common with this disease. You can die of it when your kidneys fail if you're not, don't get a transplant or aren't able to do dialysis for whatever reason. But some people have it their whole lives and don't even know it. They'll die at 90 years old and they get cut open for whatever reason, and it's like, wow, your kidneys are a total horror show. That's the thing that's so upsetting. When I was trying to learn, sitting there ostensibly learning Microsoft Access, is the pictures. You can do an image search for polycystic kidney disease. Wouldn't recommend doing it before bed or before a meal, but you've been warned. It's really, really, really horrifying looking. It's one of the more horrifying medical things I've seen, and granted, I'm biased. The thing that's happening to me is going to seem worse than the thing that's not happening to me, but went into research mode, was learning about it, saying knowledge is power. The very next year, so the summer after the fall, where I learned about it, just by chance, the Polycystic Kidney Disease Association was having their annual conference in Portland that year. So it's like, oh, hey, great, I can go. I actually volunteered at the conference so I could go for free. I was able to go to some talks and stuff. My main takeaway from it, so that's what my belly looks like as of 2024, because I have kidneys that my doctor estimates probably weigh about 10 pounds each. Your kidney's supposed to be like the size of a fist. Mine are it's like I've got 2 footballs in my belly. And That's very common. And so the main thing I took away from that conference is how surreal it was to see so many people in one place who were not fat, but had these basketball bellies. Like you see one person with a big belly, you think like, oh, they got a big belly, whatever. You know, if it's a woman, you might think she's pregnant. But it's like if you went to a convention where most of the attendees were pregnant, both men and women, except they didn't gain any other pregnancy weight. So weird. And that was 2001. Everything was pretty stable until a little over 20 years later. Early 2022, the time came that I know was going to come eventually, sooner or later, which was that I learned that I was in kidney failure, aka end-stage renal disease, as in there are 4 or 5 stages, I forget, and there is no stage beyond the one I'm in. The only cure is to get a transplanted kidney or just live on dialysis forever. And some people do that, and it's really depressing. I used to walk, my nephrologist used to be in a building that had hemodialysis unit in the same building that I walked past, and I'd like look in there, and it was just grim. I mean, you know, everyone's hooked up to machines, people are watching TV or reading or whatever, and it was just grim. And I think part of it is that some people aren't able to get transplants because they don't have the support network. If you're just alone and you don't have, in your life, and you don't have people to support you following the operation, you don't get a transplant. And also because Nixon made dialysis covered under Medicare, honestly, you know, you had a bunch of people who were poor. And that was before I worked in the convenience store and sort of got out of my privileged bubble to some degree. It was depressing, you know, and also depressing because I knew that would probably be me someday. It turns out I was offered the chance to do peritoneal dialysis or hemodialysis, and good thing about peritoneal dialysis is I get to do it at home. I do it myself, which is both good and bad. It means that there's work I put into it, whereas, you know, if I did hemodialysis and went into a place, someone else would essentially do all the work of, you know, connecting me and calibrating machines. I don't even know the details of all that, but there's a positive side to the fact that I have to do it myself, which means that I have a degree of agency in the matter. I'm active, and I think that psychologically that has value. The downside is I do it every day. I'm getting into the habit of doing it twice a day, but I've done it once a day for the last almost 2 years. I started I had the operation in May 2 years ago, May 9th, to fix a hernia that I had and install the tube for peritoneal dialysis. You can see here's the my transfer set. That this is what gets connected to the IV bag of dialysis liquid. I put 2 liters into my belly each time, and so I went through that surgery 2 years and 10 days or so ago, and so I actually started dialysis itself in June or July. June, it would have been. And I think that's where I'll leave it for now. If you're still here, then thanks.